guys, we're talking about Chelsea today. They made a lot of moves in the transfer market, and we felt that it'd be something interesting to think about, especially since they've spent so much money on the attack, completely new lineup, and now they're making waves in defense as well. Signing a freebie in the form of Thiago Silva obviously improves their wretched defense. So yeah, let's just dive straight into it. Nathan, what do you think of Chelsea signings this season?
Uh, they've made some top class signings this season. Obviously, Timo Werner, one of the best players in the league. Kai Havertz, who might have, is very likely it's going to happen. He's one of the best young prospects in world football. Two German superstars, Thiago Silva, a Champions League finalist, captain of PSG. Another star. If they get a goalkeeper to replace Kepa, that would be like the icing on the cake. But yeah, they've made some top signings. Ziyech is also there to help out. So Ziyech on the right will we'll have a good start of the season. I don't know how it's going to go on, but they'll definitely have a good start.
Yeah, Stella, what about you?
Well, as a United fan, not at all pleasing looking at Chelsea buying so much because last season we almost had similar seasons, both the teams up and downs, inconsistent. But and on one hand, United just sitting there doing nothing. On the other hand, Chelsea is like, we need to close that gap. We need to go get above, like get close to Liverpool, City, and all. And they're clearly doing it. And it also helps that they have the money, like because since they didn't spend much last few years. But everyone should have money. But knowing Chelsea and knowing their owner, like he wants to win trophies. Like last season he also accepted that he couldn't because he had a transfer ban and shit. But this season he's like, no way, I'm going trophyless. So he's like, let's address everything. And they have a good management. They have good recruiting. I think I don't know how they're fucking pulling off these deals, but I think they have a very good recruiting system, negotiators and stuff. So yeah,
But
dude,
like,
good on
but
paper,
like
good
Nikhil, do you think?
signings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like they're good signings. But Nikhil, do you think like so many signings are a good idea in one window?
Because another thing about Kai Havertz not getting this thing is I was reading about it when German journalists they were saying that how Leverkusen wants to say it, like how they want to put it out, how they do business is that first they get their replacement and then they sell their player, because when you sell your player, when it's official, all the clubs know that you have this much money. Like they know, okay, this player was sold for 80 million, so he has 80 million in the bank. So when you negotiate, it's easy. So as long as that's not official, you can always say, yeah, I have Kai Havertz, they're my player, but then for this replacement I would only pay this much, like 30 or 25, whatever. So that's one thing, that's what they're waiting. So the deal is done, but their replacement is the problem. Another thing is so many
No,
players coming. Yeah.
yeah. On that point, you don't think Paulinho from Leverkusen is a good enough replacement? I don't think they need to buy a player from outside. I think they've got
No,
enough
but this
players
is
to
what
actually.
their whole thing was, that we are not gonna say it out unless we make our replacement official. And they are this thing, they're talking to Zanilo from Roma or something like that, a very young player who's, even Jose likes him and all that. So that was their explanation. So the deal is done, like everything is done. They're just waiting for this part to be done so that they can make it official. Another thing about so many players coming in is always an eye opener, because all are talented players who are starters in their former club, who's got those numbers. Like Chilwell is a starter in Leicester. Werner has amazing numbers for 5 years. You have nothing to, you have to take names. We know these are like class and star players. So I think a manager like Lampard was going to have it's a very challenging season to, manage all these guys, But I think he has a plan for sure, because spending so much money when everybody's sitting tight. A club like United has no capacity to spend, even though they have, they're supposed to spending, like they have the money. But then looking at that, Chelsea spending 200, 250 million on a situation like this, when everybody's sitting tight, you don't see anybody spending this sort of money. So it's going to be a big challenge for Chelsea. They'll have to answer a lot of questions next season, considering so many eyes are on them.
Yeah, but
But
okay.
answering that
So,
question, what you actually asked him was the
hmm,
the squad dynamic is obviously going to change. That's what he asked you.
exactly. Yeah.
But
It's
yeah,
going
Yeah,
to be
I
so
mean,
challenging.
a lot of changes will obviously take some time to they'll take time to adapt, get used to each other. But when you have top quality players playing together, it becomes very easy. It's like everyone who like every interview you'll ever hear, the better the quality of the player, the easier it becomes to adapt to their playing style. And when you have players like Ziyech, Kai Havertz, and Timo Werner and Kai Havertz have been playing in the same league. They know each other. Ziyech is coming in, and it's not like they don't have a base. They do have a base. If things go wrong, which is very unlikely, they do have players like Tammy, Pulisic, Mason Mount, who will step up for sure, 110%, because they've been in the system. So I don't think there's a problem that can take place.
Yeah.
Only in defense,
Uh,
maybe with Thiago Silva, it might take some time to settle down. That's the only thing.
so, what I was also wondering about was, yes, critically, the defense. They've already spent this much money. Actually, talking about money when it comes to Chelsea is ridiculous anyway.
Yeah,
But when it comes to defense, they've already signed Thiago Silva. They signed Malang Sarr
yeah,
from
so,
Nice free. And that's a guy who might walk into many teams like as maybe a left back or center back
right.
sometimes.
Yeah,
The
centre
thing is
back. Yeah, yeah.
they send him out alone when they already have a defensive issue as of now, which I think is more tactical. But what do you think of their defensive recruitments alone? Ben Chilwell,
So,
Thiago Silva,
yeah, so Malang sir going out on loan is I because he's 19, I think, and they already have
21.
like they already have Zuma and Rudiger who are like that, like not that bad. Like instead of getting in a 20-year-old from some other league, I think he might probably put one of those next to Thiago Silva. So Thiago Silva is going to uh, improve their defense for sure, and Chilwell obviously. So I think Chelsea only has done half of their business so far because
Yeah.
another half is still left, which is the selling part. So I think that selling part is still left from Chelsea because who now they are going to sell Emerson? They have Marcos Alonso are going to keep them, sell him, do what? Plus, if
They've got
he
to go. They can't keep Emerson and
uh,
Marcus Alonso if Ben Chilwell is there.
so
That's
if that
ridiculous.
depends, like how they're going to set up. Are they going to set up with three center backs, two center backs? We don't know yet. So next
Uh,
season, I think that will be important for their defense, how they set up. But I think if Silva is
yeah,
there, he
that's
can be that commanding center back which they were lacking. So Silva can be that commanding center back and he can command the likes of Rudiger or Zuma, whoever plays next to him. So I think
Tomori,
they're only missing a keeper. Like they're only a keeper away from I think sorting
yeah,
the
that's what
defense.
I was
But
coming up to. So guys, do you think that Kepa is the guy to go ahead with next season, or should they actually spend a lot more on another keeper? Because honestly speaking, when I see Chelsea, I don't feel like Chelsea's got bad defense ability wise, or even like
Yeah.
as a unit. They just seem disorganized. I think everyone's seen that meme about Liverpool versus Chelsea, where Rudiger is just shouting Kepa's name and letting Van Dijk run into the box, like unguarded. He takes a header and he skies it, fortunately, but that could have been an easy goal. Both of them are just looking at each other while one shouts the other's name. So I feel like it's disorganized rather than there's bad talent in the
Actually,
field.
yeah, because this system is what has been this fault is what even I felt because we've seen Kepa last year. He was not so horrible. Like, because we have seen his moments in, I guess, what was that cup game of penalties which they won? I guess,
Liverpool,
I don't remember. I don't remember. Last season with
Liverpool.
yeah, with
Oh, last season or this
last
season, I think it
season,
was
I
Liverpool.
think they had a cup game and, no, yeah, it was the Europa League semi-final where they won it
Leverkusen.
in the penalties. And, Kepa's had his moments. He's had those bad times also, but I think it was the more of the system that has been not working for Kepa or all the defense also, more than the player being bad or player being miserable.
dude, I feel he's just lacking confidence and
Yeah,
otherwise you can. One more thing is we see him in games, but Lampard is seeing him in training every day. He's seeing what he does, what he's not doing, and if he doesn't like it, then we don't know. Lampard, if he doesn't trust his keeper, which is a big thing, yeah, don't trust your keeper
so
because he
the
he must be
problem over
watching him in training.
the main problem over here is no matter how good your team is, no matter how you play, if you have a keeper who's lacking confidence, everything you do can like get ruined very, very easily. So it's a big question whether Frank Lampard is ready to take the risk and keep Kepa and trust in him because that was the same situation Liverpool had with Loris Karius. So what Jurgen Klopp wanted to do in the same situation was keep him. Jurgen Klopp usually trusts his players. He wanted to keep Karius, keep him. But then the board was like, We're not keeping carriers. He's low on confidence. He's not doing a good job. He cost us a lot. Fans are going to hate him. Let's just get in one of the best keepers. Gordon, Allison, problem solved. I think Chelsea should go ahead and just get rid of Kepa. Because
Really.
if another keeper comes in, because a single mistake, every mistake Kepa makes, is going to be built up in the press. It's going to be built up among the fans, and Chelsea fans are like Chelsea fans, man. They'll keep hating him, keep giving him shit. That's not like he'll get support and time to prove himself. That's the
And
problem. And
dude,
keeper is a position where you have to be. A single mistake will cost the entire team. So everything you do is going to be scrutinized to another level. So it's very risky. It'll be very risky for Frank Lampard to make the decision to keep Kepa and not get in a keeper who will be given time at least by the fans
So
and by the players.
that's actually an important point about mentality of the team when it comes to like acting as a unit, especially defensively. You're talking about confidence in the case of Kepa. Like, to be honest, man, I think the guy's not got a confidence issue as such. It's just like you said, it's the others who aren't confident in him.
Yeah. But that's
Ship-
equally important.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like you want to know what your teammate will
Yeah.
first do. So like that's clearly the problem here. So I think that can be resolved in my opinion because like I've seen certain cartoons playing our defense at Arsenal and really change because of a systemic change in how we do
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we focus on what people can do. So that,
So
in that sense,
the system is probably what's not working for him because he cannot. I mean, yeah, he's got cost him a lot this season. Like so many horrible mistakes, which were all direct goals, and that's enough to be said. But I no, I'm not sure if it is him or it's the system because he
exactly.
gets.
Yeah, but let's move on to another important thing. So, like Stallone mentioned, exits. Now, what do you think it spells for Tammy Abraham that they've signed Kai Havertz and Timo Werner, both
dude,
players who can fill his role?
dude, I think Tammy is a good striker. What I feel is, but considering he's still young, he's like this is his what second season in Premier League,
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he started off the season very well, and but he hasn't been consistent. His form dipped, but that happens with every young player. If you see the likes of Rashford, Martial, they've been playing in the Premier League for like 2 3 years now,
five
and
years.
now after three, now
longer.
after three, now after 3 4 years, you can see that they've started to become consistent. So it's like young players take time to get that consistency, and he's a good striker. I don't think Chelsea is going to sell him or anything
No, no.
because they need those options, and he's a different striker to Werner. Werner is more of a Aguero type or whatever you can skillful side,
No,
and
but like,
Tammy's more like a number nine, like a target man. So the options will always be good for
the
Lampard.
better way to flesh out this question would be what? How do you think they line up?
Lineup, I think we
But
now
just
that's the
before that, one thing, Salon, you said that he's a good striker. We're looking at it from like a perspective that Rashford is good. Rashford took some time to perform, but Rashford was never given that thing where he's going to be sitting on the bench and he's not going to be a main striker. He's not going to be a main player for the team. Neither was Martial. Martial was never told you're not going to be the main striker for the team. In this Chelsea team, Timo Werner, Ziyech, and Pulisic, Tammy is not going to be
dude.
playing on the left. He's not
Marshall was told he was not going to be the main striker when Zlatan
for the
came in.
entire season.
His
For the
num
entire season.
when Zlatan came in, his number nine was taken. When Zlatan left, he got in Lukaku.
But
There was
he
Marshall
was
was
moved on the
never
left.
given.
But he
Yeah,
was
but
always
he
a
was
winger,
not a
and then he
starter.
moved as a striker. But here
He was
Tammy's
ne-
played an entire season, proven himself, and now he's gotten
that's
the
what I'm
person
telling.
who
See,
replaced him is on the bench with him. The person who's bought in is one of the best strikers in Europe. He cannot play on the left or right. How do you think he as a player will stay, man?
Yeah, because
I don't think.
Tammy just dropped form because first in the first half itself he scored some 15 goals or something, and then he
Uh,
Giroud came and helped him
yeah.
for the top four. It's just the form after the lockdown, I think so, because Tammy never showed he's a bad player or something. This is definitely good, man. Even yeah, he was definitely good. He's not getting sold for sure, but competition is
But
always good, right?
but
Frank has always
competition
made
is
sure
good.
that
But do you think he might want to leave? It won't be
no,
a case
dude,
that
these
Chelsea
are
want to sell him. Do you think he might want to leave because he wants to play for England? He wants to be the number one striker. He's not going to be happy being a number two to Timo Werner for sure.
when we've recently or we previously spoke, right? They both could start together also. You never, yeah, it looks tough now because Ziyech is also come, even Kai is also coming, so it's gonna be challenging for sure for him to all
So,
But
starting
so
position
wait,
is
I don't
always.
think his future looks too bright at Chelsea though. I don't think the future for Tam is too bright.
yeah,
Dude,
let's
that depends if Werner comes in and starts killing in from the first day itself. Like,
Yeah,
if
considering Werner
he
see.
joined in July and he's been training since then. He and Ziyech
I
has
think
been
he should
actually
be
training
sorted,
since
yeah.
July. It's been
But
3 months,
GH
I
has
guess.
been better in training, it seems.
Yeah,
GH
so
has been
no
like
doubt. So these guys have been
seems
training for 3 months. So they're already a 2 or 3 steps ahead of the other squad who's actually
yeah.
just joined maybe this week or last week.
That's
So
that's
that
precisely what I'm talking about. It's like it's not just that they signed Warner, and it you also gotta look at it like this. They signed Havertz, so like say something happens to Warner, the best striker at the club on paper is Havertz. Again,
Exactly, yeah.
the way I really look at it is they've signed two people like on paper better than him, who've also performed better than him last season. So
And who also have a big price tag and need to be justified.
yeah.
Frank Lampard has to justify that price tag what he's paid for them. So it's
exactly, precisely. So it's quite shocking that they signed these guys. At the same time, at that cam position, you have Mount.
Yeah, there's Mount also. Mount is also, and
I'm a little, yeah.
Mount has been that starter for Frank throughout the whole season. He never benched
he's
him
been top. He's been
at
top.
any point. Yeah, because there was always that drop of form and games which he did not perform in on. But Mount used to always start since Derby. But Frank knows him since Derby. But still, but guys coming for that position, man, that's like a direct one-on-one
Replacement.
competition for that one position. So next season is going to be very challenging for Chelsea as a manager also, as
So
players also.
another problem I found is like if we really look at Warner and Howard, if they're playing in the same lineup, I think they do a lot of similar things. So
Dude,
I'm
Ziyech
not
also
sure.
does almost the same thing if you really look in. He always likes to assist. His assists are so good because he always likes to come inside and then put a ball inside for his striker. And that's what Tadic always scores
So
those goals for
so
Ajax.
Nathan, do you see like the Chelsea front four in this case being as fluid as the Liverpool front three, where the striker is not exactly a guy who needs to bang in goals, but he also sets up a lot of the play. He makes those runs to draw defenders. He makes good passes, poaches the ball at the right time. So do you see something similar happening at Chelsea?
So so last year Timo Werner, he played as the main striker who was pushing up ahead, getting in behind the defense and things like that. He was the main. That was his role last season. But this season he's been like a person who's much more involved in the game. So the thing is that if Kai Havertz plays behind Timo Werner, CH will stick to the line for sure. He's going to be sticking to the byline to the sideline for sure, and he's going to be putting the crosses above the the balls above the defense, playing it to Kai, taking it back out, all that thing. But on the other side, they have Pulisic who can also do that. So if Timo
Exactly.
comes down, gets in behind. If Timo goes up, Pulisic comes down. And Kai Havertz is so like a magician, man. He can do anything. If Kai Havertz is having an off day, then it's ZH. So it's going to be extremely fluid.
dude,
The best part is
dude,
they bought quality and nothing can
but
replace
the
that.
question is, who is going to be that guy who's going to score, who's going to be closest to the goal to receive all those balls?
Timo
Because
Werner for
Werner,
sure.
Werner.
so that's what
Timo
Werner
Werner.
can't fall down. Werner has to be on
And
top.
look at
He
his
can, he
supply. Who's
can,
going to
he
supply
can.
to him? Havertz will supply to him. Ziyech will supply to him. Pulisic will supply to
And
him.
even better than that, if they play bloody Jorginho in the defensive midfielder, that guy can put a ball to anyone. If anyone remembers that Tammy Abraham
Yeah,
ball
yeah,
above,
against Wolves,
so
right? Yeah, yeah, that
yeah,
was out of nowhere,
what
man. He
a
broke the defense and midfield.
insane assist. That was an insane assist. So if
But
they have
that, another
Jorginho,
That's
interesting thing about Jorginho is that Frank has not been the fan of him. If the after lockdown he's been, even if he was fit for some 5, 6
mm.
games, Jorginho never played. And then Gilmore used to play there, but then Gilmore got injured, then Jorginho got back in. So that is a very shocking thing because
Jorginho. He does a lot of good things, but work rate
yeah,
wise, he might not be the best DM available to
uh,
them considering they have. That's another thing that we could talk about. Kante, he's. Do you think he'd be sold? Because I think if Kante
that
is
would
in
be
my
sad.
I
Yeah.
don't even.
I think it's the injury fear, man. This past season, he was injured for so long, constantly. So that was one problem I think they're facing, and he's 29 also. I think if they really need to sell to balance these purchases, then I think he'll definitely go, because we have Conte sitting there and by wanting all these old players whom he has worked with. So he's looking for Conte. Conte looking for Conte.
Yeah,
But
sure.
but but he hasn't been playing in the CDM position, man.
Yeah, since Sari,
Yeah,
he's not been
That's
he's
playing
the
in the
more of
the
CDM
a box
defensive
position.
to box.
Yeah,
midfielder. Yeah,
I think
that's
that
the
box to
sad part.
box is not his strengths, like the
But
passing and
he's
finding.
playing that
But
Yeah,
very
that's
well,
pretty
bro.
much
He's
what he
playing
did.
that very very
he's
well.
more his interceptions, getting the balls, tackling people, passing it on to other people who can then drive forward.
Him
Kante
working hard
driving
for
forward is, yeah,
but
because
Kante working
looking
hard
at
for
that,
Jorginho
even
is like really good,
Kovacic
dude.
is also a player like that who likes to grab the
yeah.
ball from others and then pass it forward. He's sometimes you feel he's an attacking midfielder, but he's actually
Dude,
as a
yeah.
profile way, he's a defensive
Yeah.
midfielder.
Kovacic is more better to drive the ball, like drive with the ball, get the ball and start dribbling.
Take the ball
He's like
ahead
Jack
to
Grealish. He
start the
and Jack
attack type of
Grealish.
a player. Yeah,
Yeah, he and Jack Grealish don't lose the ball usually, basically.
exactly. So even the
But
Dude,
midfield.
let's
but while
finish.
we are talking, do you realize how many names we've taken? There are so many players for such few
Exactly.
positions.
Yeah,
And
Yeah,
if they
like
play three at the back with two wing backs, that's one more midfielder less or one more attacker less. So if you play
yeah,
three at the back, you're gonna have four attackers sitting on the bench, which is not
yeah. They
cool.
have like a city level of squad, is what I feel. Because Chilwell and Reece James are not, or Aspi are not going to be sitting on the bench,
Yeah,
man. They are coming to
Aspie
be
can play center
starters.
back, bro.
They are gonna be starters, and then Zuma. Then there's some 5 centre backs as of now, but then five or
Aspie is the
six centre backs.
captain. So,
They have 6 centre backs now. Like as of
yeah,
now,
Aspie is the
we don't
captain,
know
I
who all are
guess.
gonna leave. We don't know who's gonna leave.
So yeah, like I think we're in agreement that Chelsea's got a super stack squad prop, and the fact that they've added quality to the team is
But
pretty
let's
much.
get in some predictions before the end, okay? Let's get in some predictions of where y'all think Chelsea will finish. Sorry, Arjun,
I think
continue.
after transfer window,
Which
after transfer, because there's another 1 month for them. For
Yeah,
considering how much they spend
but
now, and they have another month.
based on right now. Sorry,
guys,
sorry.
one last thing. They're also looking to sign Declan Rice now and Donnarumma
What?
from Milan.
I didn't
So
read anything about Rice.
I
Okay,
have
my bad.
I've read quite a bit on Twitter about
No, the
Rice.
thing
He could
about
just
Rice is the fans love him, dude. Like the fans love him.
yeah, he's
I mean, anybody loves him,
look,
but then Chelsea
he's
born players
Everybody,
are always
everybody.
loved by
look,
Chelsea
he's from
fans.
West Ham and he's English and he's a central midfielder. I
And
think
he's a
like
beast. He's a beast.
he's a very good player, and I guess Frank pretty much
No,
could
no,
see.
no, 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 no,
When
no.
Mount plays, you can see some of Lampard. Like Lampard's told him, this is what you need to do if you get into such situations. Drive ahead, go for the shot. Don't like hesitate on pushing your trigger. So
But
yeah,
Lampard is a much better finisher, I feel, dude. You can't like.
dude,
Uh,
Lampard was Lampard. So he can't.
Yeah, exactly. The comparison is like okay. My
Yeah,
bad. Continue.
No,
I can
as a
see some
mentor,
of it.
as a manager.
Yeah, as a mentor, he's been great. So like Declan Rice as well, it would be crazy. But like I think we've all come to the agreement that going forward, Chelsea is not. I don't think they've had issues except for maybe those tight defensive games like against Sheffield, Burnley, and I think they destroyed Burnley the first time. But Sheffield, Burnley, the size that give them some trouble sometimes. But I think it's defensively that's the whole issue, and they have made some good signings, but I don't think I'm convinced personally. I
Okay.
Is also not completely convinced. So yeah, let's just end it here.
Yeah.
Finally, like just a prediction, guys, for the Premier League. Where do you think these guys finish as it stands?
Who's going
Top
first?
4, dude. Top 4. That's all I can say. Because you can't predict
Like
You
last
don't see
right
them.
now.
this season by the Anderson, we had done a top four this thing, and how we just we started with three. Like first was Liverpool was done, second was Chelsea City was done. I think this end of this season, this upcoming season, we'll start with 4.
Yeah, that's what. Like just Chelsea be there in the top three. And
Yeah,
let's
they're
just end
there
it
in
at
1, 2,
that
3.
only.
Now their game is about 1 or 2 or 3. That's their challenge
Yeah, that.
because they need to perform. This quality, a good system, a decent system is all because these are players who can just put the game to bed, man. Like Ziyech can come and just put the game. Kai can. So 1, 2, 3 for sure. No doubt.
1, 2, 3. All right.
1, 2,
So
3.
1, 2, 3. Okay. I think it'd be a laugh if they finish fifth with this. Then like, let me just. But yeah, they're probably
Then they'll have a
finishing
new manager for sure. Frank isn't going to
so
be as
nothing different.
good.
So
Yeah.
nothing different at all. So yeah, it's been great. Thank you for
Let us
watching.
know what you all think about Chelsea, boys. Whoever
Yeah, in
watches
the
this.
comments, tell us who your favorite transfer is at least.